one of history's most influential figures, Julius Caesar. And no, not the salad. This guy. Rome's most controversial figure. And famous military general. The Senate may have feared him, but to the common people, he was a hero. His rise to power started from his many military campaigns. His most famous campaign being the conquest of Gaul, modern France. This conquest was important because it secured Roman borders based around the River Rhine. Caesar was a brilliant person and needed to be sure that Rome couldn't be attacked. So after the area was conquered, he needed to incapacitate Rome's remaining foes on the other side of the river. He needed to cross the River Rhine. This river is 150 meters wide and about 20 to 25 meters deep. The bridge was completed within 10 days and it shows the ingenuity of Caesar. Please note that the Great Roman Civil War, also known as Caesar's Civil War, was a 4-year-long chaotic political mess that led to the deaths of thousands of people. I cannot do it justice in the span of a few minutes, but know that Caesar had multiple opportunities to surrender before crossing the Rubicon, but also gave the Senate a reasonable request, saying if Pompey stepped down before him, he would step down. Up next, Caesar versus Pompey. The Great Roman Civil War was a turning point of Caesar's career. The Civil War lasted 4 years and it ends off with Caesar gaining 2 of Rome's first and only. The first Roman dictator and the first Roman dictator to be assassinated. Back to the Civil War. Caesar's infamous crossing of the Rubicon was the start of the Civil War. Pompey, and more importantly the Senate, were scared that Caesar was gaining too much power and influence over the Republic. So when Caesar decided to lead his army across the Rubicon, it was treason. The Senate called Caesar back from France and demanded he step down. On his way back, he debated crossing the Rubicon. It was considered treason for any general to cross the river with their army. He decided to cross the Rubicon. Alea iacta est. The die is cast. He knew that he was going to start a civil war and change the course of Roman history. Pompey decided to flee Rome and into Greece. Caesar lost all hope in ending the war quickly. He marched on Rome, gathering the remnants of the Senate. Caesar said he was going to save the Republic, declared Pompey an enemy of the state, and most notably, raided Rome's temples for gold. Caesar then conquered Spain from the loyal Pompeian soldiers. Caesar's generals took Sardinia and Sicily, but failed to take Utica, an important great hub. Caesar had a legion rebel because the Roman elections were due to happen soon. Caesar held the title of dictator for 12 days in order to hold elections before stepping down. Caesar moved from Spain into Greece in order to face Pompey. Caesar would have a decisive battle at Pharsalius. Caesar had 30,000 soldiers and 2,000 cavalry, but more experienced, while Pompey had 60,000 soldiers and 7,000 cavalry. Caesar had won the battle. Pompey had fled Greece into Turkey, from Turkey into Egypt, where Pompey was murdered. When Caesar found out, he was devastated. Even though Pompey was the enemy, he effectively ruled Rome together with him. He would have most likely pardoned Pompey if he lived. Caesar was named dictator for 10 years, given tribunal and censorial powers. After the Civil War, Caesar was excited to lead Rome in a time of peace. Caesar was planning on giving land to the poor and soldiers who had been fighting. It didn't pass through the Senate, but public support was through the roof. Once Caesar reached Rome, he retired the remaining legions, showing support for peace. He refused to getting a bodyguard and assured the Senate that he doesn't hold a grudge. He also promised that he wouldn't like to be the last dictator who controlled Rome, saying, "I am not your tyrant, but your leader." All those who rose up against him were pardoned, even some were put back into higher positions of power. During Caesar's 1 year as dictator, he gave much needed power to the lower class. Caesar increased the size of the Senate and adapted the Roman Republic to its size. A lot of these reforms made Caesar's rule harder to be challenged. Despite putting former enemies into power and trying to appease everyone, As time continued, Caesar's actions were starting to become more and more monarchical. He forbade anyone calling him king, trying to appease both sides. He was killed by 60 senators, and only 20 were written down in history. The group of 20 were believed that they were saving Rome from a monarchy. Caesar was sat down on a chair underneath a statue of Pompey at a Senate meeting, surrounded by 20 senators who he either trusted or spared after the end of the Great Civil War. He was shocked when he was attacked, but eventually succumbed to his wounds. He was stabbed 24 times, but before he died, he was able to sit underneath the statue of Pompey, covering his face with his toga like Pompey did during his murder and accepting his fate.